Gonna start another painting. This is a little bit of a larger one. We've done a couple of 8 by 10s. This is a 16 by 20, probably 20 inches by 16, I would guess. It is this scene. So this is one of the Father's Day, I'm sure, times that we went out the creek. There's R4, and then in the red is Haley, who's my niece, my twin brother's daughter, who's, I think she's maybe 6 months younger than Peyton. So anyway, that was the day we were out on the creek. I've cropped it a little, and I've actually, and I don't do this often, but I took the saturation up a little bit. Took it into GIMP, which is free software, and it was a little tad washed out, and I like the saturation up. I think I may have even taken the contrast and bumped it just a smidge. So anyway, that's what I'll be looking at. I'm showing you that because you won't be seeing it because this painting is larger. So as we move up in size, I have to change some things. I moved my camera a little bit. I'll try my best to stay over here, walk to the left of, and the camera, and try to stay out of the way as much as I can. You may have noticed I hold the brush a lot like this. There's a couple reasons for that. I know most people do this, and there's times when I get in here tight that I will hold it more like a pencil. You know, very rarely will I ever get up here on the ferrule of the brush. There's a reason they have long handles. You want to be away from it. Main thing is to make big, nice strokes. You want to be furthest away from the tip, right? Whether that's here or my arms extended. Another reason I paint like this is, number one, I can see. Sometimes when my hand's up here, I can't see parts of the painting. Here I can see better, but when you're instructing, which I've done a lot of over the years, I can be out of the way of folks off to the side, and I don't have my hand like that. So anyway, you'll notice that. You probably already have. So I'll try to do more of that and stay out of the way. This sounds dumb. It shouldn't be that difficult of a painting. It's just shapes. Now, every time I say that, it'll be difficult. The main thing is I love painting, trying to capture a dramatic effect of light. That's a challenge. I love, you know, that's why we golf. That's why we do things like that. It's the challenge, right? That's why people, you always wonder when you might be one of them. You go out and slice golf balls and top them all day long, and for some reason it's frustrating, but you can't wait till the next time. Why the heck would we put ourselves through that? It's because it's challenging. You know, nothing worth gaining isn't hard to get, I guess. I probably butchered that, but anyway, making these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folks look like they do, so you would know that that's Matthew and that's Andrew and that's Chase. That's part of the challenge. Simple shapes though, but also the dramatic light. And I want to make sure that I capture this sunny day with nice shadows. They don't want to be black dark. You know, that's one challenge that over the years, it's easy to glance at a photo and come back and go, well, it's white and black, or, you know, very bright yellow, and, you know, maybe there's shadows up here that's almost black. There is a little bit of that, but it's very reserved of where that happens. There's a couple places that it's really daggone dark, and there's a couple places it's really bright, very bright, but it's not everywhere. And a lot of it being luminous, this incredibly dramatic bright light, is it's illuminating, not just where it's hitting, but there's cast shadows, there's reflected light from the sun. This is one of those times you're going to see me, I'll push it a little bit, meaning I exaggerated a little bit, but it's there. This light is brighter than that light because this is direct sun shining. This is from the trees. It's from a blue sky. You should be able to know what I'm about to say. That's cooler than that. That's got some yellowish orange in it, mostly white. This has a little bit of blue in it, and maybe a little bit of green because reflection. Same on their clothing. That's not gray. It's a cooler version of that. So brainwash, that's what it takes, at least for the kind of art that I do. This stuff is fun, it's all fun, but putting these trees in, the water, have fun with it. You know, I'm going to try to stay pretty much true to what I'm looking at over here. The shape of these trees and the foliage, I'll use that to help me. But, you know, if I get to a point where I'm painting, and I don't know yet, but if I'm painting Chase and that bush, you know, isn't letting him stand out like they are, then I'll subdue that a little bit. I'll move that, right? That's part of my power as an artist, to move things around. But for the most part, I'm just going to put this on and have fun, and you won't see me paint hardly any individual leaves. May not do that at all, but if it is, it's just very sparingly. So we're going to put, not that I should have already done this. I know. Should have already done it. I need to put out a little paint. I have cadmium, yellow medium. I may have told you guys this before. As much as I love golden brand of paint, which is mostly what I have over here, these little screw tops suck. You just got to get these, or I have to get these things. That paint dries and makes it tough. If you go with Liquitex, it's got a big, old person friendly top on it. Both are fantastic paints, and there's other brands out there too that are great. Those are just the two that I usually have, as well as Winsor & Newton. So you see I'm putting out 3 different brands of paint. The yellow's golden, Liquitex ultramarine blue, Winsor & Newton Naphthol red medium, cadmium red medium, if you want to say that. That's kind of in the middle of the cap, the different kinds of cap. It doesn't honestly really matter, the brand, as long as you're comfortable with it. I mean, you could put, I'm not going to say any brand of ultramarine blue, and it would work the same. Some are a little different, some are a little more transparent. But between these 3 brands, for me, they're all about the same. I do have some white out. So I have yellow, red, and blue, burnt sienna as always, and white. Don't have black. Should not need black. I normally never put black in my canvas, in my palette until I need it. You know, and that's where you have a pupil of an eye or something that is absolutely black. I really try to not dip into it, because I honestly try to make everything warm or cool, and I don't want anything to be absolutely perfectly gray neutral. All right, it's gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. Yes, we are. So, choice to make: synthetic or hog hair, natural bristle. 50-cent brush, you know, $4 brush. Not bad. Most of the time I will start with this kind of a brush in things like this, mainly because I do a lot of scumbling and it wears the brush out. I really don't want to wear these out necessarily. If I did, I would go to the filbert, and I might do that. The only thing I don't care about the hog hairs as much, I don't use them that much, but when I dip into the water, they really grab some water and they get a little smooshy. I'm looking at what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for a bigger brush, and I've got big damn brush. I've got big damn brush. Right, I got real big, so that may be a little too big. So we will stick. We're gonna stick with this one. I'm so sorry. A little bit of water. I just touched the corner. This is a moment, and I'm going to do it just to show you. I'm going to put black. Oh, ooh, I'm glad I read that. That's phthalo blue. Whew, that's a brilliant blue. And I got my glasses on. Where's my black? Don't have much black left. Mars black, Mars black. I'm going to put some black out, even though I just now told you I wasn't going to do that. And here's why. I want to save the brilliant greens, which there are hardly any. When I look at this picture, hardly any. They're mostly a grayed out, drab greens. There's a few spots that are green, a few. Most of this is dulled green. So I could take blue and burnt sienna and yellow and make that. But what I wanted to show you, and this is the Zorn kind of palette. Remember I said Andrew Zorn doesn't use blue, or he's gone now. He would use yellow and black. So I'm going to mix yellow and black together. Yellow and black together. And the reason I'm doing that, and some artists, honestly, and not that there's anything wrong with this, some artists will use student grade acrylics or even craft thin acrylics for their underpainting, and then they'll use their nice professional ones like I've got here to put in their final touches, because they're more vibrant paints. Because you really, that's a mistake that we all make. You glance and go, oh, well, that's green, so you mix yellow and blue together, or you have green paint and you put green on it, emerald green. That's not what's up here. So I want you to see that's green, right? I don't want some of these midtones to be any more vibrant, saturated, beautiful green than I want it dulled. That is what happens when you take yellow and black. That is not blue. It's yellow and black, which makes green. It's kind of weird, isn't it? So we're going to use that to our advantage, covering this canvas. So when I'm doing this, I'm trying to not paint the darkest darks. Remember, I always try to paint where I reserve. I can always go a little darker. I can always go a little lighter. This is where we really, it should all be fun, but this is really where you just, if you can't do this and paint this and you not enjoy this scrubbiness and moving paint around, and you don't need to paint. We're gonna have so much fun up in here. I'll come back up in here and I'll paint over and over and over. Now, this is, we don't want to get too much water, right? If you don't put water, it skips, which is okay, because we're going to put a lot of paint up in here. But if you put too much water, you don't cover. So it's important, and this just comes with practice, that you keep mixing and you keep grabbing more paint. You got to get some paint up in here. A little, just a smidge lighter, just a little bit lighter. It's not critical that I get this accurate. It's what matters is there's variation. There's some variation to that. Definitely don't want it to be any black, right? And we'll get much darker than this, much darker than this. But for right now, I'm just trying to get this thing covered. Let's get some more paint. I'm going to probably have to put more paint out here. Because remember, this is a 16 by 20. So, what that shape right here that I'm getting ready to cover is the size of the last painting we did. So it takes some paint. You gotta use some paint here. Can't forget the size. Can't forget the size. I'm gonna put paint out. Now what I'm gonna do, taking my kind of own advice, I have student grade paints. See, they're Academy, Grumbacher. This is a great use for them. Is some of this underpaint. It's I don't know if you even heard that. It kind of is watery. I don't like them. They're a third the price for a reason. They don't cover that well. You know, for the most part, you probably have to use 3 times the paint. But for something like this, it's okay, right? Because I'm really wanting to put some paint up here. And so sorry. And I'll get up in here and we'll end up doing stuff like this to put those highlights in after it dries. Notice when I just put that up there, it's so easy for it to blend in. So much fun. So much fun. There's gonna be a tree here. I really want to make sure, and I hope you can see some of this, that the canvas is covered. I don't care if I covered this whole thing. Gosh, I could almost do that, couldn't I? Put a whole wash of green over the whole thing just to get it covered so I don't miss any little spots. I could do it. Could do it. Could do that. Probably should do it. But we're not going to. All right, so let's get some more black. And I'm going to just for notes for myself, we'll go much darker than that too. And what I'm doing, I'm looking, of course, this picture, I'm putting, where is it the darkest? Where is it the darkest? It's not black. It's not black. And this is not a great brush to try to come in here and do any detail work, but there's some spots that are real dark. And once they're in there, I want to keep this brushy. I want to keep this loose, and it'll work. It'll work. If I come in here, I promise you, because I've done it. If you come in here and put individual leaves, limbs and tree bark and all that stuff, which a lot of artists do, you're gonna kill the story. The story is of this painting is them looking for rocks to skip. And I've got a bunch of pictures of this day, of this scene. Sorry. And it's them getting ready, they're skipping rocks. And I almost used one of those pictures of them skipping the rocks. But I like this one. And maybe I'll do that one someday. Not exact painting here. Well, I mean, I'm trying to be pretty precise with a brush that won't let me be very precise, which is on purpose. And there's times where we don't want. It's real easy to get real quick, grab a little fine brush and want to put little tiny detail in. That's not what we want here. So I'm trying to stay out of your way. It's almost like I can't pick up enough paint. Can't pick up enough paint. While I'm doing it, okay, I always forget to paint the sides. Almost, I don't know how many times I've had to do that. I paint a painting and I'll just have to remix every little color. And we're going to go darker than this because it is darker than that. I cannot tell you how I wish you all could see this. How much I used a huge big dollop of this cheapy student grade paint, and it's gone. I mean, it's gone. I've used it all. It just doesn't cover well. It's the bind. I believe it's the same pigments, the actual ground, we'll say pigment, but the I'll say watered down, but the binders they use are just garbage. They're obviously cheap, and they just don't cover worth the crap. So there's nothing at all wrong with starting with student grade paints. I did, but you will really quickly struggle if you use them. If you're trying to do much more than blue sky and green grass and brown trees, you get into subtleties, and you'll mix yellow and blue, and you'll get a green, and then you'll touch a little red to kill it, and it turns to mud. You just can't mix more than a couple colors together. And I remember the first time I tried to paint, I think it was a pumpkin. Paint pumpkins. And they, trying to make an orange just with yellow and red with student grade paints. It was horrible. I had a muddy pumpkin is all it was. Sorry, now that's much more saturated, which is okay. It's much more saturated than the picture. The picture is much more muted, and I'm using black. Right, that's the picture. I'm using black and yellow, trying to mute it, and look how green that is. Again, I've not touched blue, and I don't have green paint. This is yellow and black. Could you imagine if I had done yellow and blue, how much red or burnt sienna I would have to put into that to take the saturation of that paint off? Now there's a tree here, but I'm going to go ahead. I'll put that tree in later. I want to cover this canvas. I'm out of paint. I'm out of yellow. Do I dare get that garbage yellow? It's not even worth underpainting. It's not even worth underpainting with. Now you know what, these paints aren't, very inexpensive, but I mean, I haven't bought a tube of paint besides that gold for that golden horse it's been a couple years. Now, I've not painted, tons and tons, but I've done some paintings, and it's just amazing to me how long these paints will last. But like that tube of yellow that I just got out, this professional yellows, it's probably 16, 18 bucks for that tube. But you can do a lot of painting with that. Yeah, I can take a touch of that yellow, and it's got a covering strength so much better than that student grade stuff. Now, you see that coming out? Let me look in the back of my camera. I think you can see it. I think you can see it up there. I laid my brush like this, and some of the black came off from there. That's what I like. I'm going to leave that there to remind myself. That's the kind of breakup that I love to keep in my paintings. So many people have a struggle. I don't know if it's OCD or what it is, but so many people have a problem. They don't want to leave these little rough edges, these transitions. They want to sit and smooth that so the whole daggone thing's green. That you cannot do that. That's not what's in the picture. That's not what's in nature. The main thing that you're painting here, a little bit, is chaos, because that's what's back there. It's kind of chaotic. you need to put it together where it makes sense, where it does look like that there's some form, right? There's collections of leaves and trees that have light on them and dark shadows. So it's got to make sense. But oh, I keep saying left brain, right brain. That sounds dumb, doesn't it? I don't have two brains. The left side of my one brain, the right side of my brain. Your left brain, which is the logical, analytic, the one that gives names to stuff, and the ones that looks and goes, oh, that's a red car and that's a blue bicycle. And the right side is creative and sees shapes, and the left side of your brain will look at this once this painting's done and go, well, those are trees. Of course they're trees. There's no doubt they're trees. And then, that's about it. And then when people look at your artwork, that I promise you, because it happens to me, they will get close and look, and they'll appreciate, oh my gosh, that's just brush strokes. It's amazing how they created that. That's not limbs, that's not leaves, but from a distance it kind of makes us, oh wow, that's so awesome. I mean, that's what makes art to me interesting. It's not, I don't mean to bash realism, but that's just not my thing. It's impressive that people have that kind of patience and talent, but I'm sure I've said it before, probably say it again. If I painted this photographic realism, I mean absolutely photographically, spent 100 hours on it, and you did the same thing, then you couldn't tell my painting from your painting. And I have no interest in that. I'm really honestly, the goal here is to have some breakup and to cover the canvas, but let that brush do some of this work. That's why I've got a brush that's let's say kind of challenging to do much with it, to be precise. I'm not trying to paint individual leaves, even though I know that's back there. For the most part, there's a lot of masses. There's bright lights and things that will come back in later and get. Right now, I want to just for the most part covered. I could almost paint this one color, one tone, one value, but there's no reason I wouldn't create a little bit of shapes and make an attempt at putting some form. We will definitely revisit this, but I'll be honest, you could almost leave it, and there are some artists that would leave it just like this. Go do any more to the background, and I like those paintings. I would honestly, I wouldn't leave it like this personally, but I would rather leave it like this than to go in there and make it look like the photo. Every time I see an artist's work that's very talented, that it looks like they took the painting too far, I'm like, ugh, God, I wish I'd left it. I wish they'd left it. That's why most artists that do what they call color studies, right? Artists do these color studies, that landscape artists, they'll be out on site, they'll be at plein air, if you will, they'll be outside, outdoors, lighting's beautiful, and they are painting, and they know they've only got about half an hour before the light changes, whatever light they're painting in. The sun's going to change, the shadows are going to change, so they've got about roughly, let's say, half an hour. So what they'll do sometimes today, in today's age, they'll take a picture, which I would do as well, and they'll do a little color study. They'll take out a little 8x10 or something, and they'll paint they'll paint and try to capture the light. They're putting in the shapes, but they're really just trying to give themselves a little painting that shows the light in their hand, right? Their style. And then they'll go back in their studio, you know, turn on the tunes and look at the color study and look at the picture, the photo, and they'll paint let's say a gallery piece. They'll paint a large painting, and it may take, you know, 15 hours or whatever it takes, 20 hours. And that's the one that they'll sell in a gallery. And almost always, I like the color study better. It doesn't have every rock, it doesn't have the detail, but there's something about it. Call it organic or whatever. I love the brushiness. I love the bravura, brave, the brushwork. I love to see the artist's brushwork. I don't want it. If I wanted it to look like a photo, I'd buy a photo. But a lot of people are interested in that. Oh my gosh, that person's so good. Look, it looks just exactly like a photo. And it is, you know, it's impressive. I'm just not interested. It just doesn't interest me, not as an artist anyway. Maybe before I got into art, I don't remember. Before I got into art, maybe that was more, thought that was cooler. Don't know. When I started, most everybody, when they start, that's your goal, is to paint photographically. I want to paint an apple, look exactly like an apple or whatever. And then you get to a point where you can do that. And I actually have I'm gonna say I got one painting that's about as photographic. I spent a long time on it, and once I got done, I was like, well, I'll check that off the list, but that's not really what I was interested in. But I got a painting rather. I think I've got it. I think I got it on my website. That is, and it's johnloganart.com if you're interested. It's basically, it's not, I call it a website, it's a Microsoft OneDrive that has just a copy, just got thumbnails of my pictures of my photos of my paintings. But there's one I did, I actually raffled it off for charity. It was a still life, which I don't hardly, still life of and I set this scene up, which again, I've only done that a couple times. It was a book and some reading glasses and a vase. I don't remember what all I had, a cup, maybe coffee, a teacup or something, but it was your stereotypical artist still life. And I painted it pretty photographically, pretty much realism for me. You know, probably spent, who knows, dozens of hours. And if I painted that now, not putting much thought into it, but the style that I do, I'd probably paint it in, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, I would guess. And I'm not saying either one of them's right or wrong or whatever. But the art that I appreciate for me, that interests me, is the style that I do now, which is loose. Anybody want any dogs? Let's see. Again, this is a bigger painting. It's 4 times the size. And we got some we're going to do a lot bigger than this. We got 30 by 40 we're going to do, which is going to be lots of fun. But these just take a little bit longer. To me, they're not more difficult at all. You just got more paint. You got cover. I mean, it shouldn't be like doing 4 paintings, but definitely it takes more time. And I'm gonna pick up a little more dark just to break up this side, because I ended up getting about the same tone. Just break that up a little bit. Ooh, let's see. I think we're gonna that may be my mom visiting. She's coming just to say hi. That may be them, so I probably will stop. We've been at it 35 minutes. Until next time.